Gothamites. This is your boy T'Challa, and we have the White Wolf with us as well.
I'm
This
out
is
here.
Gotham, this is Gotham City Rogues. We are working congruently with Marvel Stuff Podcast because it is Black Panther week, aka every day is Christmas for me.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that you're enjoying the episodes at least a little bit, Noah. We do this for every major movie that comes out during for the MCU. We do a whole week of themed episodes, and we're having a great time. It's always fun to just kind of like jump into it. You and I have been doing a comic book club for every one of them for quite a while now, so that's been pretty enjoyable. And this one is no exception. We did Black Panther Volume 4. This was written by Christopher Priest, and there was a conglomerate of artists because we went across a few issues. Now, what we did is we only broke down the Black Panther part of Volume 2. There's a whole second section called The Crew. We're going to save that for a different episode because it's not
Oh yeah,
necessarily Black Panther because, spoiler alert, he's the new White Tiger by the end of this. So he's no
yeah,
longer Black Panther.
which I thought was great, and because Marvel, the new Black Panther has to deal with someone taking up the mantle of Black Panther. That's
I was
why I
gonna
decided.
say I was like, is this intentional by Noah? Because I just thought you just picked a Black Panther book you wanted to read, but this is really really smart. I appreciate that because it really is someone else taking over the Black Panther role. T'Challa is still present, but not really. He's barely in it.
Right. Yeah, he showed up in like what the last like 50 pages of even the arc.
Yeah, I mean he's presumed dead for the beginning of it. That's for sure. But let's just kind of break down what exactly this was. This was released in 1998 and then kept moving forward. Like I said, Volume 4, Christopher Priest run. A lot of people call him one of the better Black Panther artists. I believe he was the first African American writer to take over the character from Stanley and Jack Kirby. There's a whole podcast about Black Panther, which I know a podcast recommending a podcast is kind of silly, but I would highly recommend the history of Black Panther. You can find it. It was originally on Sirius XM, and they even got to interview Christopher Pierce. Excuse me, Priest. So pretty awesome stuff there. Now,
Yeah,
98. Here's the cover. What are we feeling on these vibes, man? Because this is not your father's T'Challa.
no, but this is nine. This is if you were to ask me to like pick a year from when this comic book cover could have been, it would have been 98 or 99. This is
Yep.
late 90s aesthetic, not just Marvel,
Oh,
but
DC
just
too.
DC. I mean, this is giving Spawn vibes. This
Dark
isn't what
Horse. Yep.
yes,
All of
this is
them.
what comics looked like in the 90s. And I think this is a really just point blank, hey, you're getting ready to get. And from this picture, you can tell, like, oh, it's Black Panther, but it's not, you like you said, it's not your dad's Black Panther. This is not your mom's. This isn't this cute little Chadwick. This is a dude who's out. Every time I was like flipping a page when Cole was up there, when Casper, whichever way you want to call him, I was like, this is Punisher. This is Punisher with a
With a
with a
twist.
with a Black Panther hat on, and I loved it. I did enjoy the difference because he has a similar story as T'Challa, but is a whole separate vibe than T'Challa.
I did appreciate that he was like from Manhattan, so an American guy. He just happened to pick up the Black Panther suit. I thought that added a different level of intrigue because he's grown up in an established city that's essentially a character itself in all mediums, but especially in Marvel Comics. And throughout this volume, we actually did get a couple of cameos. Nothing crazy, but we got a couple. So that was fun. I guess the intro is the guy that starts under the Black Panther mask is not T'Challa. Like we said, it's Kevin Cole, nicknamed Casper because he's a very light-skinned black man. I'm trying to see. There he is. I screenshot this one. There's a handful, but
Which
he
one
just
is
looks
he?
white. Exactly. He just looks white. And I was like, did they really put a white guy in the Black Panther suit? Why did this thing not get canceled immediately? And then I was like, oh, it's because he's light skin. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, he's mixed. And when you look at his mom, you can see it. Like as a man who's dark skinned, who has a son who is very light skinned, like it happens. It
Right, yeah,
happens.
100%. Yeah, there could be direct brothers and sisters that just have completely. It's just, my brother's tanner than me. Not exactly the same thing, but it's gonna have a range no matter which way you chop it up. But he was,
Yeah.
yeah, half. I think it was Uganda. His dad was from Uganda. I believe it revealed that in the last issue, and his mother's Jewish. So that was
Mhm.
he's a mixed race between those two. And
Oh my
I
god,
like
he
this
is like
character.
me.
I like this character a lot, dude. It was fun. It was like just taking something I like never would have picked up by myself. Because if anything, if I was gonna read Black Panther, I'd want to read about T'Challa. But you had big brain moves, and you decided, you know what? T'Challa's not here, so what are we gonna do? What did you think of this intro? How do you feel about this character? I guess what were you looking forward to the most when you first picked it up?
So, I mean, I have known about Casper for a while. I knew that he took on the role of the White Wolf after Hunter gets, uh
White Tiger.
dethroned, I guess is it the White
They all
Wolf.
have weird names. They white. I thought it was White Tiger at the end, and he was the
Oh
White
yeah,
Wolf.
yeah, he
Wait, what's the
becomes
other
a
one?
yeah,
Okay, okay,
you,
gotcha. Okay,
which is a
they
whole
they add
separate
somebody
Marvel
these.
character.
I loved the joke where he said, "Okay, fine, I won't be Black Panther. I'll paint it green with with tiger stripes and call myself the iguana, green iguana or emerald iguana." That's what it was. I wrote it down. It was very funny. But continue.
So I mean, I really enjoyed, like I said, I love how Cole and T'Challa's story are very similar in terms of like men who don't think that they deserve what has been bestowed upon them. They both stole the suit because I
Yep.
mean T'Challa originally stole it from his dad when he wasn't worthy at the right time. In some iterations, and then we have Cole kind of thinking he stole it in order to do what he deemed to be right.
I know, good old T'Challa. I loved the Grandmaster T'Challa of this series, where he was just like, I know everything. He had a Batman vibe about him.
And the 4D chess. Um, so I enjoyed it because it was giving me again, it was giving me young T'Challa vibes, but with a real Marvel US twist, especially like a New York twist, because it was just giving like in terms of like when you think of your New York heroes, his Black Panther fit. It felt like Daredevil.
Right.
It felt like Peter. It felt so much like a New York hero. But if you were to put T'Challa in New York, which they do sometimes, he does feel kind of off. This was your way of getting a New York Black Panther. I thought that it would
I think,
fit
yeah, I
really
mean, it
well.
even speaks to the fact that like sometimes T'Challa is just like, oh, he's the token black comic character to get in here. Oh, okay, I guess we need a black guy for this story. Where's T'Challa? It's like you're gonna pull this guy from Wakanda just to like shoehorn him into any Avenger storyline. It just seems silly when you have other characters, but I like that this guy. Yeah, he definitely has the New York vibe about him.
I hope that they do in terms of the actual like comic, especially in these like newer runs. I would love to see more about Casper, even more about Hunter. As much as like how weird he is, his character is really, really intriguing. Like he's this white kid who got
Mm,
adopted by an African king, and then
yeah,
became jealous of the guy's actual son. Like it's a really weird story, but like it's told so amazingly, and like the bond of Hunter and T'Challa when they're younger, and it is kind of like you could see in the in the movie, they almost tried to play that up with the very quick relationship of Killmonger and T'Challa. Like he had
okay,
this like
yep,
love for his cousin almost immediately. It was like, oh, you could be my right hand. Like when he learned all the ways that his dad failed him, uh, that's the same thing that happened like with Hunter. And I was like, oh, that is one thing that T'Challa can never escape is the sins of his dad, is the sins of the previous Black Panthers.
right,
And
exactly.
I thought that
I
I
mean, we
like that.
talked about that even a little bit in an episode earlier this week. Just the fact that it's not T'Challa's fault that they weren't assisting the rest of Africa and trying to prevent them from being shipped off to America into slavery. But now that he's in charge of Wakanda, he retroactively like Killmonger's like, dude, why aren't we doing anything? you can't prevent something that already happened, but you can make things better. And that's why I think Killmonger was such a fantastic villain. It's just he really embraced that. We're switching between the movie and the comic book, but I just wanted to acknowledge that.
No, yeah, you're right, and I mean we go on and on back and forth. I think that the interesting thing, and we get it here with Casper's Black Panther because he has the sins of his father,
Right.
in both ways, and both being a cop and trying to clear up crime, like spoiler alert, kind of like the dirtiness in terms of like what he was doing was illegal, even though he was doing it for what he assumed to be the right reasons.
Right.
His
100%.
dad, not so much, but yeah.
Yeah, we can quick shout out the dad. I mean, one thing I wanted to pick apart from this series is like the first few issues, they really leaned into repeating dialogue, repeating things in his head. It
Hmm.
got on my nerves eventually. It was like, okay, we get it. We know that guy said that. We don't need to see it 6 times. Two or
Yeah.
three I can live with, but they had that one thing that his father said while
Go
he was
talk to
visiting him in
his
prison. Yeah, go talk to the colonel. The yada yada
apologize.
yada. Yeah,
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 yeah, yeah.
yeah. Because I heard it 6 times, it should be stuck in my head, but I chose to ignore
No.
it.
I the one time I did enjoy it, the one time I thought it was really interesting was when he was reminiscing to when his dad went to the mayor, the head gangbanger, and was like telling he's like, "Hey, no, we can fight right now. Like, I'm not a cop. I'll put my badge down, stuff like that."
Oh
And then
yeah,
at the
yeah. The
end,
fight when his kid came in with a black eye. Yeah, I did. I took a
yeah, yep,
screenshot of
that.
that. This scene, and
And,
then it goes into that, and then right there.
yeah, and then as they're leaving, it's the same lines that he told him, and that was the one time that
That
I
was
was
the
like,
one
"Oh,
time it
you
was
could have saved
okay.
it for this moment, and it would have been great." But the fact that I had already heard
Yeah,
it like 3 or 4 times.
his dad was straight gangster in that scene. I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm on board for this guy. This guy's my boy. Blackjack Cole's dope." He rolls up. He's like, "Yo, my kid has a black guy in your neighborhood." It's not even the guy that punched him in the face. He's like, "Yo, what up? You're the mayor." It's
Yeah,
like that's
yeah,
actually hilarious. So he's kind of like he's kind of buying his son protection by threatening to beat up the mayor of that
the
block or whatever.
but I mean, the same thing kind of works in like not reverse, but it's that whole thing of like retribution. It's like, hey, I know you might not have killed like my friend who's a gang member, but you're part of that crew, so you got to die as well. Like and it's kind of foreshadowing for what we learned. He kind of like he had mob like mentality from an early standpoint. Like the fact
Mhm.
he went in there and was like, nah, badge, no gun, let's fight.
What up? Yeah, let's duke it out like men. He throws it back even further.
Fisticuffs.
Good old fisticuffs. There's some interesting artwork. I took a few screenshots. Feel free to stop me whenever. But I liked the glowing yellow eyes that they added to the suit. That was pretty cool. I like how they were very conscious of the fact that this Black Panther suit did lose the right arm. So he
Yeah,
found
I
it
did.
without the right arm. So he had a glove on that wasn't the claws, and he wore the trench coat to kind of hide that fact. It was kind of neat. How did you feel about Sergeant Torque in his
Uh,
relationship that he had with Casper?
it was at first I was really trying to like grasp where he lied with everything.
Yeah, me
Like,
too. 100%. I didn't know if he was like, it seemed like they were friends, but also it seemed like he was an old beat up cop and he was kind of like okay with corruption at the same time. So it was a very interesting dynamic, but as it was shown throughout the issues, he's definitely Casper's strongest and most reliable ally for quite a while there.
yeah. Also, the scene where Casper, his pregnant girlfriend, and Torque are all in the bedroom.
Yeah,
That
that
was
was
just a
hilarious. I was like,
very
that's
strange
deeply
scene.
personal. Well, it was just, I guess, trying to expand on them being really good friends and like they really
Yeah,
trust each other with everything. I don't know if I screenshot that. I don't think I did. But
yeah.
yeah, that was a pretty awkward scene. She's like, "Can we at least pretend that it's weird that he's seeing all my stuff again?" So,
Again, I was like, oh, oh,
yeah,
we out
hilarious.
here.
But oh man, I got some of the cameo pictures in here. That was a little
The
bit later in the
Spidey.
story. Yeah, I got. Did you notice J. Jonah Jameson?
Yeah.
That was funny. And then right after we got our boy Spidey. And this is at the beginning when
Boy, look white. That is a white
yeah,
man.
that's a white man. Look, he's next to his Asian girlfriend, and they have the same skin tone.
She was mad white too. At first, I
She's
thought
mad
she was a
white.
white woman until she said she was Korean. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. So he's doing a bunch of like walking the beat is what they call it as cops, is because
Hmm.
he's being punished for
Demoted.
something that blew up in his face, and that's why he picked up the Black Panther suit in the first place, because he wanted to continue to do his job, but he didn't have the badge to do it.
Yeah,
And
and I thought that was a really cool little thing that was just like T'Challa, taking it because you believe that you're doing the right thing, even though you're not worthy of it at that moment. And he
right,
does become worthy of a suit later on, but it is like them fighting for. And I mean, it happens to T'Challa again when he becomes the guardian of Hell Kitchen when Daredevil, because he
right.
gets kicked out of Wakanda.
Yeah, yeah. This specific image is like, this just screams New York Black Panther. That's what this guy is right here. I'm like, I
Yeah.
buy it. It looks like you switched it up a bit. It's cool. Uh, then we
That's
do
T'Challa
get
B.
the
Parker right there.
yeah, we do get to meet T'Challa, and he's also very light skinned. Whoever the artist was, they were not good at representing like variations on skin tone.
Which is weird because like they got Okoye right there.
Right.
She dark.
Yeah, she's darker than T'Challa. Yeah, whatever. It's fine, but it was very odd and kind of jarring. Like, even right by his glove in this image, you could see his skin peeking between the two. It's like, so this is a white guy. This is just a white guy dressed up as Black
A
Panther, and
white
that's
man.
not cool. We get to see T'Challa down on his luck a little bit. I don't know the context of why he's down and out in this exact moment, but it gives me like Bruce Wayne vibes from The Dark Knight Rises, the very beginning, where he just is a recluse and grew out his goatee and hobbling around on a cane type of thing. So, uh,
Yeah, I mean I did like because like with Bruce Wayne, this shows that it's not the suit that makes the hero. It is
right,
truly their minds. They are both such brilliant tacticians that he was able to think three steps ahead almost constantly the entire time. Like you said, very Batman. This is a very Batman T'Challa that we get in this. In this, and this is almost like Batman and Jason Todd.
yeah, a little bit of that relationship, yeah, because he's kind of hands off in the whole situation. I did find that odd. It made sense because they're trying to develop this Casper character, but at the same time, it's a Black Panther book, and like, he's alive, but he's just kind of like chilling in the background in his pajamas and never leaves his pajamas. Grew out his hair quite a bit. His look drastically changes within this comic book, and
It
we're gonna
does.
get to that. It's weird. But here's the chapter 3 cover. There was 6 chapters to go with the intro here. There was also chapter 0, so it was actually 7. And all of these are really neat covers, just throwing the guns up, really showing the trench coat and stuff. This one specifically, it looks more like T'Challa. I think it is T'Challa, because he's wearing the black and gold, not the
Like,
trench coat.
yeah. But
Moving
that
on.
I can't even tell if that's a glove or if that is his hand. Oh yeah,
Yeah, that
it's
one's a
like
bit
a
confusing. I think it's the claw there, but regardless. Uh this one, there's more just him and White Wolf having a bit of a standoff, and he's the same tone as White Wolf. They just did not do black justice on this. Like, not even just the skin color. Like, that Black Panther suit is blue. It is light baby blue.
And like I get like maybe if you're trying to be like, oh, at that point you got to make like everything that color to make him
Lighter,
like
yeah,
almost
yeah.
seem invisible or whatever. But yeah, that just looks like he's wearing a snow leopard suit. That is snow leopard.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna add another weird cat related figure. But I guess moving forward with the storyline, some other notes I put, Casper gets rehired as a cop. White Wolf replaced the stuff that he lit on fire because he didn't want to owe White Wolf anything. And it's like, wow, he really is serious. I didn't know what to think of White Wolf at first. I was not trusting him when he was introduced in this storyline. But it turns out he was working in like connection with T'Challa the entire time, which their relationship I'd really like to venture into further. And maybe we'll get to do that someday.
Hunter is a really intriguing character. I hope that they mention, like, if they, for me, what would be, especially with the losing of Black Panther, at his funeral, I want there to be one white guy that no one questions who he is. They don't. He never has to talk. He
Oh,
never has
that'd
to
be
say
cool.
anything. He just has to be there.
They did give Bucky the name White Wolf at the
But
end
they
of
didn't give
Black
him the
Panther.
name Hunter, because
That's
who's
true.
to say that Hunter didn't give up that title
That's true.
to go and
I
do other things?
I don't see any reason why they couldn't do that because they did that for Iron Man's funeral. They just had that random kid that no one really recognized, and it was just the
Hell
kid from Iron
yeah,
3, and he
Iron
grew up.
Lad. Hell yeah. Fucking love that
As-
kid.
yeah, he's dope. Moving forward, what other things do we have going on here? Casper gets a call that his dad was attacked, so that's
Mhm.
rough for him. I took screenshots of this tussle and then another tussle, which was very similar. So he not only fought off a bunch of people, so his dad's a total badass. He fights off all of the
Yeah.
deep characters, and then the police come and beat him down, which was no good.
His
How
dad
did you
looks
feel
like Luke
about?
Cage in this shot.
He does. He does. How did you feel about the father character throughout this story?
I wish we would have gotten a little bit more of him, like more visits maybe, like in prison, because we get the whole scene where he's like, "Hey, go and apologize." We get the flashback, and then we just keep hearing that thing, and then we get the ultimate kind of reveal near the end. Um, but he's I like him. I wish I just saw more of him. I was gonna ask you, like, before you said that you liked him, your thoughts on Hunter, like, because he is kind of like a ghost
He
in this.
gives me interesting vibes because he doesn't quite. He gives anti-hero vibes. That's how I feel about Hunter within this scenario. And yeah, like I said, I didn't trust him, and then eventually I kind of was like, oh, okay, so it's all Gambit here. Everyone's involved. He's cool, man. I hope that they do something with that character in the MCU. There's really no reason not to, right? I mean, you could even bring in Casper if you want to go another step where it's even canon that Black Panther wasn't always under the mantle type of thing. I don't think he should take the Black Panther mantle, but if he gets to be White Tiger, cool.
And the way that I can see them doing that, if they do a second season of Captain America and the Winter Soldier, although they're doing the movie, so I doubt it. But having Bucky deal with someone dressed like T'Challa running around New York,
Oh yeah, you
even
could
if it's his
definitely do
own like
something with.
little, yeah, like stolen vibranium, because it's now out there,
Right.
especially with whatever we're getting ready to get in Wakanda Forever. But yeah, these characters are so rich in energy. Hunter, Casper, I and because we spend so much time in New York, you gotta kind of, to make it feel alive, to really make it feel interesting. I like the fact that a part of me hated the fact that we got these cameos from like certain people, but we never got to see this Black Panther. And like, I'm surprised no Avenger just kind of like showed up and was like, "Hey, my
Why are
boy."
you wearing that? Yeah, that is interesting. But I guess at that point, maybe you could just assume that T'Challa spoke to people that this guy's going to be running around. It's whatever. But I agree with you. That could have been another cameo they could have thrown in there, and even developed it a little bit more. But so
Because he
as
was
soon as he
pretending
finds,
to be wait, he was pretending to be T'Challa though. That's the
yeah, I
part
know he
that's
was doing
like,
the African accent. That was kind of like interesting that they chose to go that route.
so that's would have been like, I would have loved for Spidey to have interacted with him, and even if like he doesn't catch on, but he's like, "You got a cold or something? You sound a little off." Like the fact that this guy who's in New York doesn't know anything about Wakanda, and maybe other people don't either, but the fact
Right.
that he was doing it in an African accent and people were just like, "Yes, this man is
I buy
African."
it.
Like they just
I guess that's Black Panther. I guess if you've never run into Black Panther before, you would kind of I don't know if he tried to trip up anyone that had met the real Black Panther, but who knows. But the scene where his father got beat up, it was essentially another part of T'Challa's plan. He immediately goes to break his father out of jail, and understandably so. And what happens is he runs into T'Challa himself, waiting in the in the cell, and his hair is still very froey. He hasn't switched his look yet. Still looking pretty light, but whatever. Same comic book. So moving on. We got chapter 4 here. One, this is a cool cover. I like it. The gargoyles, the shotgun.
His pants
Or,
seem a little too tight
ooh, yeah, good
from
point.
like the bagginess that we've been seeing. But I
Yeah,
mean,
that's interesting point. Hmm.
but I mean, overall, I again, all these pictures are really trying to establish that that Casper is a very different T'Challa.
Yeah, 100%. They're like, listen, it shows them with a gun in like every chance they get. They're like, this is not T'Challa. Get it through your head. And I can kind of respect that a little bit. This scene was pretty funny where he was trying to get information and he hooked up this fake wire thing like he was gonna zap this cop's balls to get the
Yeah.
information he needed. That was funny stuff. There's a couple notes I put for chapter 4. There's repeated dialogue. It was intentional but a little annoying. Casper starts digging on Okoye randomly, even though she doesn't say
Because she
2
looks
words
like
to
his
him.
ex-girlfriend.
Yeah, I know, but it was still kind of wild that like she never said a
Yeah.
word to him, and he's like, "No, this is my girl now."
Yeah, I'm a getter. Even in a relationship.
I know that was the worst part because when he was saying this stuff, he was like, "Yeah, if Gwen wasn't pregnant, I wouldn't be with her." I was like, "Whoa, okay, you're being okay, all right." I mean, he
You are
eventually
not a hero,
he changes his tune by the end of it, but yeah, he even feels a bit of shame, which probably rightfully so, a little bit.
as
But
you should.
right. Anyway, 66 Bridges intrigue. Jasper's corrupt boss Sal thinks the new Black Panther is Torque. So I took a screenshot of them pointing that out. And
Racist.
you really think this guy would ever dress up as Black Panther? Like, this guy looks like Dale Earnhardt's cousin. Like, he's not putting on the Black Panther costume. Whatever.
You can't tell me that that's not Jeff Foxworthy. You can't.
Right. Okay, then we get to meet this character, which did they never bring it back up. They talk about it a couple times, but they never show this mask again. It's so weird that they immediately just dropped that. Do you have any idea why that would be? I get that it's supposed to be like a ghost. It's called
It, it,
Kabuka.
yeah, he's in a later chapter.
Is he?
Yeah,
When? Maybe
he's like
okay,
when they're
well,
doing crew stuff because
oh, and okay, yep, I haven't read the crew stuff then. Okay, so there is a payoff later. That's good. But within the context, it's like this is the only appearance of the character, and I thought it was kind of odd. I do like that it's like a myth-based one though, where it's like, yeah, they could be real, they could not be. There's another image of snow leopard.
let's go snow leopard.
It's like
I love
it's
the
also
fact that his gloves
nighttime.
don't even match.
Well, that they make very obvious, which I was like, I kind of dig that. So he's just got like a lumberjack glove, essentially. He's like, hey man, I need to cover my hand. I don't have another one of these claws laying around.
All right, I want this to be known. Where
Pause.
do all of these people in the '90s get trench coats? Because if you ask any superhero or any
True.
character in the '90s, have you tried to buy a trench coat? They're expensive.
Once, but then they kicked me out and put a restraining order for. No, I'm kidding. I never tried to buy a trench coat.
You're supposed to keep your clothes on, Josh, in order to buy trench coats.
Well, then what's the point of the trench coat? Anyway, there's this helicopter attack, which is very another one of those 90s things. Oh yeah, in response to your point, it's because of the Matrix. That's why everyone has trench coats.
That's fair.
He falls out of a
Uh,
building. I thought he makes a funny joke in this. He's like, this always works for Daredevil and Spider-Man. He's like, lucky white boys or something. He's like, what? The flagpole snaps immediately. I just screenshot it because that was hilarious. What did you have of interest in this portion of the story?
so I mean, this is just I really got like a lot of overarching things for a random like beat cop. Casper, for some reason, I know that's why he relies on guns more than like
Right.
hand-to-hand combat. But I'm like, this dude's out here doing shit that
He's throwing hands,
not even
dude.
normal cops.
Yeah, no, he's not. Yeah, he's definitely trained in more than just the police academy. That's for sure.
Uh, but I would have liked to have
We
seen more of that. Like this man's doing like, and when they did the heist that went wrong, or not the heist, but and, like he explains like, oh, I already had the suit on. That's why he was able to do like spinning on the
Oh, yeah, yeah,
ceiling
yeah,
with the
yeah.
guns. I was like, okay, because I was about to say that is not a normal person. He,
True that,
if
true
I
that.
would have survived that, I would have been like, no, he is. There's something wrong with Casper. He's
Yeah.
he's a
We gotta acknowledge
demon.
Casper uses rubber bullets to further
Yes.
solidify that he is a good guy, so we didn't talk about that yet. Uh, apparently Scruggs gave the order to kill Blackjack, which he failed, and Scruggs is the right-hand man of Sal, which is the
Sal.
corrupt boss. Huh?
No,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was.
Sal.
I was.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Uh, it was in this moment that Casper realized that he wanted to be a good role model for his son. I was like, it's kind of odd that it took you a minute to get there, but hey, man,
Yeah,
that's
because
cool.
he was ready to
He's ready to
kill
leave
Scruggs.
his baby mama to go be with a koi, a koye. Oh man, good stuff. Chapter
Uh,
5. Another gun. It's like this is not T'Challa. You need to know. And this is where we got the introduction to the triage, the character triage. I don't know if he's of much importance other than he has these weird scars on his chest. There's a couple characters that felt kind of like forced in here, but I did note that he made a joke about at least I'm not the penguin and tell riddles and calling Chief O'Hara. So that was such a DC reference that like even DC fans wouldn't get that joke because not every DC fan has watched the 66 Batman show and knows who Chief O'Hara is. So I thought that was it's pretty funny that there's some deep cuts. There's another one where they say something about Lois Lane, and then later he makes
yeah,
a
yeah,
Shazam joke. I'm like, what is going on? Are comic books existing in this universe? Did these guys also exist in the DC? It happens in the movies now too. Like in Eternals, they talk about how oh man, the Gilgamesh is like the Alfred, or calls himself
yeah,
Alfred or something like that. It's like
yeah. They bring up
what?
Batman at one point to somebody.
Yeah, they say yeah, yeah. There's a lot of weird references, but you know, whatever. Chapter 5 wasn't as important as the rest, honestly. At least that's how I felt. This introduced a guy called Uncle Franklin. He's a internal investigations agent. He felt like kind of a Phil Coulson knockoff. That's the best I can give him. They have an intense talk about his dad and how he was the greatest cop of all time, but he was also, you know, he had to deal with corruption too. So further exploring the fact that like every cop in New York has to bend the rules a little bit, which is kind of a weird concept, but very comic booky.
Yeah, I would say that with this one, you're right. It was very kind of like not needed, but we had that like I like the like little conversation between Cole, his mom, and Gwen at the beginning of this one,
Oh yeah,
and I I love the fact that Casper, you don't know if you're supposed to be rooting for him throughout when like the way like you're like, oh, he's Black Panther, he's trying to like help his dad. But you're also like, he's a dick to his pregnant girlfriend. He's
yep.
like withholding, like it's like, hey, the lights turned out. He's like, I guess I'll go. Like it's like,
I
bro, your family
yeah,
is
there were a couple times where he's like, "Listen, you gotta like, I get that you're overwhelmed with your own stuff right now, but like, your girl needs toilet paper. Like, you get on that. You're a terrible boyfriend."
yeah, she's like, hey, you owe me food. You haven't been home all I know you're not at work. You're suspended for a week.
Big facts.
Yeah,
I love the
I,
mom
I, I,
character too, and how the mom like was the reason he didn't just let her leave and move into the Y. And then she kind of seems like she probably regretted that decision because they're always at each other's throats through this whole thing.
yes, yeah, and you know what? It it comes to fruition a little bit. Like the like end of Cole's of Casper's story and stuff like that is like no, he ends on like on like a kind of good note. But you're like, yeah, you deserve everything that happened up to this point.
Yep, 100%. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's a flawed main character, which is always a good thing too. But yeah, that takes care of chapter 5. Again, that was probably the most boring out of all of them. So we go into chapter 6 here. I don't know what's going on with this cover. They got like a zombie Jason. I don't know what's
Voorhees.
Voorhees. Yeah, not Jason Todd, but I guess a little bit of Jason Todd too.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like he's like skinning both, but I mean, this is like the moment in which like uh, I wouldn't say it's the darkest because it's a lot of talking, but yeah, he seems withered. He seems
Withered.
like
Yeah.
weathered. Yeah, and
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
that
Fair enough.
yeah, and this is the moment where yeah, everything kind of, and then we get into Ascension. Like this is the final part of like the black and white, like the beginning part of him being Black
Yep.
Panther.
I have to say, yep, 100%. So this is where it starts to switch things up a little bit. But the things that I put as notes for chapter 6, Casper has to meet a woman with a shopping cart for Sal, runs into his mom and girlfriend, which is pretty funny that they just called in. They're like, "Hey, where is he at?" And they had the audacity to tell them where a cop was while he was on duty. I'm like, "What are you doing?" I
The
get that
only
he's a
reason I can think that
superhero.
is if they know he's pregnant. If they know she's pregnant,
That's true.
it
Yeah,
could have
good
been like
point.
an emergency. But then
That's
again, they could have just radioed.
I think it was the mom that was calling though. That's the thing is like he did leave his family out to dry a couple times for like he's like, okay, I gotta go on this journey. I gotta starve myself for 3 days. I'm just gonna leave my wife and or my pregnant girlfriend and my mom behind. They'll figure it out.
Leaves a note. Hey, be back in 3 days.
Yeah.
Pack food.
But to end this storyline, at least the first part of it, which is the first 6 chapters, Sal gets himself into a compromising situation, and Casper takes advantage. And he's like, "No one's gonna believe that you did this." So he shoots himself in the head with the gun, and realizes he almost killed himself. I'm like, "Good work by you." What other screenshots are there here? Oh, we get to go see weird Morbius Morbius T'Challa.
Yeah, we got fucking Morpheus over here. Like, I love how in this iteration,
Morpheus, thank you.
T'Challa never looks like T'Challa. He just looks like a bunch of
No.
other black
Yeah,
people.
they're like, well, we don't know what T'Challa looks like, so who's a famous black actor? All right, he's gonna look like that in this issue. So
Yeah.
I was like, all right.
We got him looking like kind of Denzel and Lawrence Fishburne. None of these will
Yeah.
make sense.
No. Okay, so once he gets, he catches Sal, the story ends where all of the people that were part of his conglomerate get fired. He gets demoted because he's too powerful. He's always been in the pocket of 66 bridges, and we finally get acknowledgement of why that is. And it's because they have his kid, and it's like, okay, you can almost feel for Sal, even though he's been like terrible for this entire situation.
Yeah,
What was the deal with the dad? That's where this
he
this
is.
issue ends.
He is the head of the 66 bridges for real. Like when he thought that was
Okay,
like yeah, when he thought like, oh, my dad got like set up, he didn't. Well, he did get set up, but he is
he's
the
the reason
kingpin
to
of
get.
the 66 bridges.
Okay. I don't know if that was ever like full. I guess it was kind of implied a couple different times, but I guess it didn't like upright or upfront say it, but whatever. Cool little aspect then. Father son rivalry coming down the road for sure. This scene happens right after, and it's weird looking
That's
T'Challa.
Colonel
Like
Bubblegum from
show
Lilo Stitch.
they literally show this image to literally like any comic book fan ever. And they're like,
And they'd be
they
like,
couldn't
"Oh,
guess
why
who
is
this
Nick
is.
Fury here?"
They could not guess who this guy is. They you could give someone 15 guesses and no one would guess T'Challa. So it's like, what are you doing with this look? Whatever. Uh
Yeah, like if you were to be like, "All right, three guesses," I'd be like, "All right," so they put Colonel Bubbles in here, or they'd be like, "No, that's not it." Like the Agent 47 from Hitman. No, did Nick Fury shave? Like none of them are good answers.
Oh geez, did Luke Cage do the Sammy Sosa treatment? Okay. Anyway, more stuff to do with the father, and he cuddles up to his girlfriend like he hasn't left her multiple times throughout this storyline.
I
All
think
right,
it's the brain
moving on.
damage, though.
Yeah, must be. Moving on, we go to Ascension Part 1. Ascension is a 4-part story that kind of closes out the Black Panther run from Christopher Priest. So it was pretty cool. We got the Morpheus. We got Falcon. How did you feel about Falcon in this storyline? Because he was used more than any other cameo. They said that he has a relationship with Torque, but I don't know. Did you know about that before? Or was that something that caught you by surprise? Because I had no idea. I didn't even know who Torque was, none, let alone the fact that he knew Falcon.
The only reason that I figured he knew Falcon is because in the comic iteration, Falcon used to be a criminal. So I
Um,
figured Torque probably like, took him under like a mentor-y thing, or just kind of like busted him enough times to where they know each other.
okay, fair enough. How did you feel about this meeting? Because I think Falcon and T'Challa both know that they're testing Casper, but Falcon's got to pretend he doesn't know that, which is kind of a weird situation to be in. But I liked the use of Falcon throughout. They go to his funeral, and Falcon's kind of a jerk to Casper, giving him the cold shoulder because you're the reason Torque's dead, even though he knows, spoiler, Torque's not dead.
Yeah, there's a lot of mind games in these issues.
Yeah.
Where in like the first part, you would think that there would have been more with like dad being a secret like kingpin and children being kidnapped. Like you would think that there'd be a little bit more espionage thriller to that, but it wasn't. It's more to this part. I don't think it needed to be.
Yep. We got a Captain America cameo. Cool, I guess. I mean, I guess you
Just kind of there.
got him. Yep. We get. I took a screenshot here because it's a particularly intense thing because he decides like the way he's gonna find the child is find the pediatrician that took care of the kid while he's been in custody or whatever, or been not in custody, whatever the correct term is, kidnapped, I guess,
In
abducted.
custody. There it is.
There it is. Yep. He has a gun just right in the guy's mouth. I'm like, all right, well, that's intense.
Oh, he keeps putting stuff in people's mouths. He did
Yeah.
it at the beginning. He like took dirty money, put it
Yep.
in
He did that
Scruggs'
too.
mouth.
Oh, I think I actually did take a picture of their screenshot of that. Let's see. Yeah, it's right here. That's kind of his jam. He's just
Yeah, he
like
just
shoving people's mouths. It's like, what up? This is
shoving.
my dominance thing. He's a
I
dom.
mean, I I know I said it, but I do enjoy the ruthlessness of Cole. I just wish he interacted with other people more. Like, I understand that
Yeah.
this is like a Black Panther story, and it's him coming to terms with becoming Black Panther
You
until
should at
at the
least
end we get that bait switch, and
have
he's
more
not.
involvement with Black Panther or like more like characters from Wakanda. It's like what do we do in here? These are all like kind of new characters with very like loose ties to T'Challa, and then he jumps in every once in a while. It's very strange.
Yeah, I mean, even like the dude from the Wrecker who like moves to Wakanda and becomes like a famous sign. There's so many Wakandans who aren't in Wakanda right now, or introduce Wakandans who are in Wakanda right now.
True.
That's even
True, true. Uh, so Black Panther's kind of back in action. Everyone knows he's not dead, but Casper's still in contact with the White Wolf, which makes things, more fun. Torque funeral, a couple cameos. Sam seems to not be on board with Casper dressing as Black Panther. And then there's the classic rival team up to track down Sal's kid who's been missing for years, which is exactly what we've been talking about.
yeah, we
Falcon
get
calls him
Red
out.
Wing.
Yeah, there's a little image of Red Wing over there. I'm kind of glad they didn't do a bird Red Wing within the MCU because it would just be kind of odd.
It would be. I again, there's like little moments in which I wish that they even if they didn't have him, because I think that for the MCU, mysticism, especially for who he is as a person, for Sam, wouldn't have made sense. But
Right.
having a pet bird or having a previous pet bird
Hmm. That'd have
named
been a
Red
way to do
Wing,
it.
and that's yeah, like
That
a
would have been a
picture
way
of
to
him
do it.
as a kid, even if it's a picture of him as a kid at a bird sanctuary and he's just doing this, just
Nice.
something that like is like, oh yeah, he's always been near a
Yeah,
bird.
I think we've been there and they didn't capitalize because we already got a Falcon and Winter Soldier show and they never brought it up.
And now
So,
he's Captain America, and Cap doesn't have Red Wing,
well,
but
there's like a version for Sam Wilson's Cap and he has Red Wing. So that's good.
I mean, I haven't
I swear
seen
that
like
was a
the bird
cover.
Red Wing.
Maybe I'm thinking of something else then, or maybe I'm just thinking of a Captain America cover where he's got an eagle on his arm or something. That seems possible as well. But yeah, here's Cole. This now he's finally starting to look black, but I think they went too far now because now he's the same shade as T'Challa, yet his nickname is Casper. They need to figure it. They need to figure out what's going on with the artists on this whole thing.
They just have him getting blacker and blacker as the chapters go on.
True. The last note I put was Falcon calls him out for not having pure motives. Casper then asks for Black Panther's help in trying to become a worthy Black Panther. So that brings us into Ascension Part 2. This starts out with a bang, and it's no, that's not even there yet. We get introduced to Mama. How did you feel about Mama, Black Panther's combat trainer?
I think Cole has a weird fetish.
Yeah, why did she have a baby on her back? The whole time she had a baby. And she was like, she looked like an old woman, and then he finally hits back, and then everyone's mad at him for punching the old lady. Like she didn't just throw him out of a 2-story building. This is silly comic book stuff. I love it.
Yeah, and it was good. Yeah, I always that's kind of small tangent. That's why I like Gotham Knights right now, is
I
because
love me some Gotham
they
Knights, dude.
they don't discriminate. Like you can walk up and it could be like like the mafia women.
Oh, the Godmothers. Yep.
Yeah, the godmother is like, oh no, I am
You,
Jason Todd. I am a full grown man who has to just start beating
yeah,
that
you have to
out of
pound on. Yeah, they're intense. I've actually, oh man, I put so many hours into the game. I'm gonna platinum trophy the thing, and I've got 5 more trophies to get. So we're gonna get there in the next couple of days. I've been too busy podcasting, so you guys are all welcome for me not exclusively playing
I've just
video
not
games.
I've just not been near the game. So
Fair enough.
I've been
Moving
in
on though,
Utah.
Casper. Yeah, shout out Liam. You know what up?
Shout out my boy, my Casper.
We got Casper goes to Wakanda to the Wakandan embassy, and that kind of starts this whole trial by fire thing. Very Hercules, very I don't even know. There's just lots of trials he has to go through to become a worthy Black Panther. How did you feel about this whole situation?
I felt like this was like awkwardly shoot. Maybe it's because it's like near the tail end of his like arc. I was like, man, this could have just been majority of his arc, and all these like little things that we've gotten, like the finding out his dad is a kingpin, all that. That could have been the B
Yeah,
plot.
they got dropped a little bit. It's like I don't even remember if the dad shows up in Ascension. If he does, it's very underwhelming.
Yeah, so like I was like, man, they could have switched so much stuff around and
Right.
had him being like trying to be chained by T'Challa. Because again, at the beginning, he was already doing Black Panther with guns, but he was out here being Black Panther already. So
Yeah,
now he's learning to be Black Panther, even though he's been doing it.
I know. T'Challa supplied him with the energy dagger and the weird computer chip card. I don't even know what you call it, but like it's like, hey, it gives you all the information. It is essentially just seemed like a cell phone,
Jarvis.
but yeah, it's like a Jarvis cell phone. But while he's doing this, he doesn't know how to fight them. He gets some tips on his little device, and he assumes it's a Okoye trying to send him hints. But it is not. It ends up being our good friend, Eric Killmonger.
Yeah.
He's intense. How did we feel about Killmonger's intro into the story?
I I like both iterations of Killmonger.
Mhm.
I I'm glad that he's a little bit more fleshed out in the newer stuff, but he is a really fun general rival to T'Challa.
Mm.
He's a smart, and you know he is the real equivalent when you think of like most Nemesis in terms of Marvel, where it's just the evil version of them with all the same powerscapes and all that.
Right.
That
Yeah.
is what
Kind of.
Killmonger was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like he
I
has
agree.
his true blue villains that are like Claw and Namor, but like Killmonger is his Killmonger
His
is his Ironmonger or his Venom
yeah,
or his
exactly. He just represents what would have happened if he took a different route in life, type of deal. And
exactly.
yep, there's the fight. Casper humiliates Okoye because he has to fight her next. I don't have that screenshot here, but he flips her and then he kisses her, which is
Kisses
like
her.
I don't think that's the
Assault!
move. That's a bit of an assault move. And like he's just like, it was in the heat of battle. I'm like, I don't think that's gonna hold up in court, my guy.
I don't think that's gonna hold up to your girlfriend, my guy.
Also true. Yeah, he was gonna be in big trouble when he got home. If she ever found out, which she never did. It's like, is it good that she I don't know. Maybe they should have let the girlfriend find out about it and then have him get what's coming to him. But whatever. That happens. More DC references. There's a cool shot of Killmonger here. He's got a pet jaguar. I'm into it.
Yeah.
I think it looks sick.
Golden Jaguar, man.
Mm,
That was
it's-
his like pseudo name from the movie.
Yep. So he gets bailed out because it seems like Okoye is also into the kissy thing. Turns out she's just like working for T'Challa, but hey, you don't need to know that till the end here. Next section. This is part 3. How did you feel about this portion, Noah? I feel like I'm talking your ear off. You take it here.
Oh, so for me, this was my like we talked about this cover. This is the cover that I was like, oh hell yeah.
Yep. It's the
Um
cover of the whole thing.
yeah, it's the cover of the whole thing. It's the one that makes the most impact. This is like the true blue fight between him and Killmonger.
Hmm.
This is kind of where things come to a head that I enjoyed. Again, I like Killmonger. I think Killmonger again would have been a very worthy longtime rival of Casper. I think
Hmm.
he would have been the really antithesis to the Black Panther that Cole is trying to be, and seeing how Killmonger is pretty much that but evil. So I would have liked to have seen him go, oh, I'm kind of like, even like the quirkiness that is Cole, where it's like, oh man, this guy kind of makes sense. Am I evil? Like that would have been a really fun moment.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the utilization of Killmonger was interesting. He came out of a coma, so now he has his rights as the what is it called? The whatever representative for Wakanda that by like T'Challa had been filling that role temporarily while he was out of commission. So he gets to
Mhm,
make the ultimate decisions, and he instead of just murdering Casper, he gives him the alternative to take the I don't know, the lab created heart shaped herb. Which do you think
mhm.
they might go about the similar route in Wakanda Forever?
I do. I think that that might be what Shuri and Ironheart are working on.
I could see that.
Because Killmonger destroyed all of them at the end of the first Black Panther.
Yes,
So,
he did.
and it
What
is
a
a trial. Yeah, what a dick.
So Killmonger cuts the deal, and Casper agrees that he's gonna take the herb, and then it was interesting because then it felt like they're like, oh, you don't owe Killmonger anything yet, but if he helps you in your thing, it's like, didn't he already help with your journey? Don't you owe him now? They're like, nope,
Yeah.
doesn't count. Like as soon as he helped
It
you
only
find that
counts
kid,
when we need it to.
then you owe him. I'm like, all right, whatever. The way they ended this episode, he does take the herb and he wakes up. Everyone thinks he's hungover, but turns out he's blind, and that was a pretty intense scene. I took a
Yes.
screenshot of it to end here. I was like, whoa, all right, they're going that way.
And this one I think is the perfect color for him. I think this is him
Yeah, that makes
Casper.
the most sense. Yeah, I agree.
Also, in the last couple, like this is when the artist changes, and again, we've had a lot of different artists, but he looks like a linebacker. Like he
He's
looks so much
huge.
thicker in this.
Yeah, he's huge. The body physique of the '90s comic books was kind of something to behold. That's for sure. Uh, but what do you know? Next issue, the final Ascension, Part 404. This is another really cool cover. I was into it. It just like Dark Eye even made it our background here. And how'd you feel about the conclusion, Noah?
um, I can't say this is gonna sound like as much as I've been like kind of talking this up, it didn't hit me as well. I don't know. I felt again until that final part where we get the reveal that like he is now the new White Wolf and T'Challa is Black Panther again. I was
I
like,
haven't
yeah,
quite
that's
got,
just kind of
but here it is.
yeah, like great. We knew that that was gonna like I don't know. I feel like for all of the trials to become Black Panther and him not be Black Panther felt
True.
so
That's
just
a good
kind of
point.
shitty.
That's a very good point, my friend. But whatever happens, happens. The way that he was dealing with his powers was interesting. His body had to adjust to the overwhelming. It was very similar to Daredevil when he first became blind, and he was overwhelmed by
Mhm,
the sound, smells, taste, and everything. We get introduced to, from what I've heard, a relatively like controversial character because she was so in your face 90s black stat queen divine justice.
uh,
She yeah, she's like a 98-pound super heroine that fights bad guys like T'Challa. I There's not enough of her within this context for me to really form an opinion of her, but I've heard that she's not everyone's favorite character, so what can you do? This is, I believe, her first introduction into comic books.
okay, and maybe I think she appears quite a bit in the crew, so that might be where a lot of people's like kind of because for me, I was taking her like giving her like a Misty Knight, Foxy Brown esque
Yeah,
type
that's
feel to
that
her.
is how she feels. Yeah.
So I was just like, okay. I mean, it's weird because we have Misty Knight, so I don't understand why we have to have two black exploitation badass black chicks. But maybe she's a lot louder and a lot more kind of stereotypical, the stereotyped version of black women in which they're always mad, they're always angry, they're always yelling, which isn't the case because even Misty Knight, at first people would think that, but she's a very calm, collected
Right, 100%.
detective.
Yep. Well,
Why
she's
did
not
we
all
get
that important
Misty? She's a black police officer.
in New York. Yes, there's definitely would have made more sense, but they had to introduce another character for some reason. But when Killmonger was about to help Casper here, he just smashes his communicators like, "No, I'm gonna figure it out myself." And he does. He finds the boy, and it turns out T'Challa had already found him with Okoye and uh, Torque.
Torque. Yeah.
And he decks Torque in the face, and turns out Torque isn't dead. Did that hit you any sort of type of way? Like, why did that happen? Why was it part of it? He was in on it the whole time. It seemed
Yeah.
very
Again, I feel like this landing didn't hit the way that I was hoping it would. I was hoping
mm,
for
yeah,
a
it felt
lot
empty.
more.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of build up, and then the end of it just kind of ended up being pretty boring. I
But
mean,
I
we get
think
the
that was them
reveal.
leading up to the crew. I don't think they were it's not like one shots where they know that they are trying to end a story. This is them. We have the same issue with Thor the God Butcher. Like it's not an ending; it's just
Right.
leading into the next issue, so it doesn't feel
That's the
completed.
sins of comic books lately, man. I mean, I get it because they want to keep you returning and coming back. That's why I'm a big, like, you and I are big fans of Black Label because they don't really have series that they continue on. They have like, this is part one of eight. There's only going to be eight parts. You're ready to buy all of them, and they're going to be awesome. That's kind of how they roll. I do
Yeah,
like
and if you
ongoing
like it
series too.
enough, right? And if you do like it enough, like with the Dark Knight, I'm sure Frank Miller originally was like, yeah, boom, done, and finished. But
They
then
did
people
three
liked it,
more.
so he's like, right. So he was like, I could tell another story in this world, but again, it's going to be open and closed. It's going to
Mm,
be beginning to end. I
right.
prefer that. I very much enjoy when a story has a like it goes from beginning to end. And if that takes a couple of issues, it takes a couple of issues. That's not where my issue
Yeah,
lies. My
that's a
issue lies is
mistake.
when they make you want. They're like, no, we have to keep churning out. We have to keep giving 57 volumes. It's like, or 12, and then start over.
Yeah, it's a very strange situation. Marvel has done something similar with the Old Man Logan storyline. Within that story that they did. It was one of the best comic book stories to be told in quite a long time. And then they went off the rails, man. They brought Old Man Logan from this alternate future into the main Marvel timeline. I'm like, this
Yes.
just feels wrong. Like I read the issues and I was like, this just doesn't it doesn't feel the same anymore. But yeah, they kind of did that here where they're like, okay, we're gonna build up this guy. He's gonna be like, oh, he passed all the tests to be Black Panther. Boom, left turn. Now he's White Tiger. Deal with it. Whatever. Okoye was just testing him, so I guess he. I don't know what that was supposed to really tell us that she wasn't into him, but he's like, yeah, but you were into it, so really, it's like you're still a jerk here. It's like that alleviates the problem.
And don't get me wrong, Okoye, bad. I think
Daddy,
it's the
daddy.
fact that she looked like Grace. I truly don't think he's that attracted to Okoye. He's just
Yeah.
stuck on his ex.
Yep, that's probably what it is. Whatever. That's the end of this storyline. It does go on to 7 issues of the crew, and like I said, maybe we'll do that on a future comic book club episode. But it didn't feel like it was something that really belonged within Black Panther week. So, hope you guys enjoyed. Noah, I don't know how many more episodes you're going to show up in this week, so I want you to give your takes, some predictions, whatever you want to say about Wakanda Forever. Get it out now, and hopefully we'll be able to get you on Friday or at least Thursday if you're able to make the same showing.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah,
see how it
yeah. I
goes.
asked my little brother, so we're gonna try and make that. But for me, and this is kind of to go into today's episode that dropped on Spotify for Marvel stuff. I love Black Panther. I
Mhm.
love T'Challa. I love Wakanda. I love the stories that are told there. I think that they are going to make a very beautiful piece of art that will always remember the light that Chadwick bestowed upon us. The thing that I want uh, to be known is, as much as I would have preferred that T'Challa could live on in the MCU, and sadly that's not the case, I never want to take away from the fact that I loved what he brought. He made little black boys, and I stress that as someone who was a little black boy. He gave little black boys a hero that wasn't the military, that wasn't inside of a mech. He was a king. He was smart. He was a genius. He was everything that any little kid could be.
Black
And for
excellence. He
me,
was the epitome
yes,
of black excellence.
and for me being able to look at that man even as a kid reading the comics and knowing that, hey, I could aspire to be to that. I can aspire to be that was amazing. So I hold nothing but high hopes for the movies. I have all nothing but love for Ryan and the cast of Wakanda Forever. I miss Chadwick. I'm just sad that for the time being, we're not going to be able to see another strong black man continue
Yep,
to make kids
I'm
feel
with
that
you.
way.
What are you most looking forward to in Wakanda Forever?
As much as I just said all that black positivity, Namor, I am very
Nice.
intrigued on his story. I love Namor. I love the anti-hero ness in him. I love the pettiness of that man. That man will go out of his way to try and sleep with anyone's wife, and that's funny to me. Um,
Watch out, Storm. Oh, wait, that didn't happen in the MCU, you stupid idiots.
hey, when they all had the Phoenix Force shoe, we don't know what happened.
That's true. Whatever happens, happens, my guy. No,
Whatever happens, happens.
maybe they'll have a Storm someday, but that day is not today, and she's certainly not going to be married to King T'Challa in the MCU, which is a bummer. But
No.
yeah, Namor looks cool. I like the pivot from Atlantis. It's I forget the name of the new underwater kingdom, but it's based on the Aztecs. It's kind of a cool defer, like a just a way to defer themselves from Aquaman and the DC universe that they're building up because Aquaman was such a popular movie. They're like, we don't want to like rehash that and try and do our own thing. Let's take a few degrees of separation and just do something relatively new.
Which I believe I like the fact, as much as I've publicly dogged on the podcast and in real life, my disdain for Guardians. I think James Gunn being one of the heads of the DC EU going forward is really smart and really beautiful because of his relationship to Kevin. we are no longer going to, I feel like, have this discourse where it is Marvel versus DC. It's no
Right.
longer. It's going to be comic. It's going to be comic excellence, like how we have Black excellence, or we have American, or we have the American Pride. It's going to be that. It's not about me versus DC versus Marvel. It's about both comic books succeeding. Because if one fails, the comic books as a whole could fail. If one side plummets, it could be the end of the two big conglomerates as we know.
Right. Yep. No, I'm glad you brought that up because this is the Gotham City Rogues podcast as well. And we have not talked about James Gunn's ascension because we've been doing these comic book clubs, but I couldn't be more excited. That's my opinion on the matter. It's gonna be sweet. It's gonna be badass. There's gonna be all good things. He's a very funny man. What he did with Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, like we reviewed Peacemaker on this podcast, and it was a wonderful time. So the DC's future looks bright. It's going to be awesome. Hope you guys are enjoying all this Marvel stuff. This has
Before
been
you have to
go
say
for it.
what you feel about Black Panther. Even though you're going to talk more about it, I want to know what
Oh
were you
yeah,
looking
yeah.
forward
I've been talking everyone's ear off about Black
to?
Panther, Wakanda Forever. But yeah, the things I'm most looking forward to is the character change of Shuri. She was the playful, exciting younger sister who was pretty bubbly, and that actress is going to be taking on a whole different role. She's going to be playing like she's going to be somber. She's going to be taking on a lot of responsibility, and she's going to be in pain. And I think as an audience, we talked about on the previous episode from day 2, it's the intertwine between the fictional universe and the reality of Chadwick's passing and how close that cast actually was. So not only are we mourning the character of T'Challa with his sister and the other people from Wakanda, we're also mourning Chadwick Boseman with Letitia Wright and the other actors that are in Wakanda. So it's going to be a whole different theater experience. Your boy's going to cry. It's going to be great. But I am also glad that this whole movie isn't going to be grieving. We are getting a pretty interesting storyline. We're getting Namor. Ms. Marvel was technically the first mutant. I get it. And we got Professor X and Multiverse of Madness. But this is the first true, like, one, he's considered one of the original mutants, and
Yeah,
it's going to be cool that he gets to be at the forefront of this movie as an antagonist, and then probably, as you said, eventually an anti-hero. It's going to be great.
sleeping with everyone's wife. Look out, Sue. Look out, Sue. He coming.
Hey, Pepper Potts is single, I've heard. Is that too far? Holla at your boy. All right. Anyway, that was fun. Thank you guys for listening. This has been day 3 of Black Panther week. We'll catch you guys tomorrow. Again, it's going to be posted at night. We're going to do a spoiler-free review. At the very least, it's going to be me and my brother Darius. And if Noah and his brother can make it out, he will also be on that episode. And then we're going to do a full review probably around 9 to 9:30 p.m. on Friday Eastern Standard Time. We'll get as many people as we can to come hop on for the full spoilers, full review of the whole movie. We know that that's everyone's favorite part. We just like to have a little build up, I hope you guys are
Yeah,
enjoying this.
I
And
gotta have people wanting it a little bit more.
exactly. Plus, comic books, guys. This is why we do a comic book one on every one of these theme weeks, because that's the origin material. We gotta put some respect on comic books names, and we do it on this podcast all the time. And we're happy to be sharing that audience with the Marvel Stuff Pod, and we appreciate you. In the words of the immortal coach, have fun, but not too much fun without us.